Today, let's look at a more modern Wesleyan prayer book. Hello, everyone. Today, we are going to look at a prayer book of sorts that is a modern iteration of a prayer book and is not the Book of Common Prayer, but is Common Prayer adjacent. And this little volume was brought to my attention by a good friend of the family, a fellow member of the church which I attend, in discussing the Book of Common Prayer as I am wont to do. He brought up this book, which he has had for some years, and allowed me to take a look at it. And I was interested enough that I began to seek out my own copy of it. This is called A Guide to Prayer for Ministers and Other Servants. It is produced by The Upper Room, which is a Methodist-connected publishing house out of Nashville. And this particular volume, I think it's the same one that my friend showed me. It's kind of a royal blue, presumably imitation leather, very nicely bound. It is kind of hand-sized and easy to carry with one. It has some worn gold gilding on the edges. It has what appear to be blue and white head and tail bands and is a sewn binding. It has kind of a royal blue ribbon. Mine's a bit frayed from age. I think the original publication date was 1983. Yeah, there's the copyright information, 1983, Upper Room. And we have printing dates up through 1996. So presumably my copy was printed sometime shortly thereafter. And when I say it is prayer book adjacent, it is set up maybe as an intermediate step between a standard evangelical type devotional book and a Book of Common Prayer. It is structured on a Christian year that begins with the first Sunday in Advent. And for each week, it is set up by weeks. It is a similar structure for each week, where it begins with a list of lectionary readings, apparently based on the New Common Lectionary. Lectionary readings for that week. So, first Sunday in Advent, Monday, Matthew 3, Tuesday, Colossians 1, 9-23, Wednesday, John 18, etc. And there's a structure set up for each week. The invocation, which is a collect. And this one is not attributed, but in looking through it, I found that many of them come from the Book of Worship, which I happen to have a copy of here. Sort of, again, a Common Prayer adjacent book for Methodists and Wesleyans. And in turn, many of the collects in this book are from the Book of Common Prayer or Wesley's revision of that, the Sunday service book, which I have a copy of that somewhere nearby also, I'm sure. So many things carried forward from the Anglican prayer books through the early Methodist books, and now this more ecumenical in scope, but still Methodist connected prayer book. So back to what I was indicating here. So we have a collect, We have a psalm, in this case, Psalm 95, which of course is the Venite that begins morning prayer in the prayer book, but that is not always the psalm, and it changes from week to week. The second week it's Psalm 138, Psalm 85, and the third week, etc. Then we have the scripture reading assigned for that day. Readings for reflection are some religious writings and religious adjacent writings that are included here, and quite a few of them, several pages per week from different authors, some that you would recognize as Wesleyans, including the Wesleys themselves, and from lots of other traditions. For instance, we have on the first week George MacDonald, presumably the English Anglican novelist, Carlo Corretto, Catholic writer, O. Halsby, not familiar, maybe some of you are, Mother Frances Dominica, presumably Catholic. So there are some kind of devotional type readings that are not from Scripture. There's instructions for reflection on the readings. There are prayers, presumably extempore prayers, and a benediction. Looks like also a more modern collect from what I can see here. And it's the same structure from week to week. One thing I did notice, a lot of Wesley writings, of course, as a Wesleyan book, but there are other writers who show up more frequently. Carlo Corretto, that Catholic writer, shows up pretty frequently. There's an index of authors in the back if you wanted to peruse that, get a sense for the wide variety. Henry Nouwen, we're in the probably releasing this the first Sunday after Easter or the second Sunday of Easter as it's listed here. And Henry Nouwen is the first reading for that week. John Donne, George MacDonald again, C.S. Lewis, Good Anglican. So for those who are more familiar with a standard devotional, Upper Room has their own paperback devotionals they release. I assume they still do. This might be kind of a gateway drug for getting into the Book of Common Prayer. And it's really well made. The paper is nice. It's very opaque. Nice large print. I guess maybe the demographics for ministers and other servants is such that it has to be larger print for their customer base to be able to make use of it. One thing I have not been able to figure out, which has me stumped. So here we are, the first week, and by the way, I didn't mention this before I get to that. There are some retreat models, some basically outlines for retreats for ministers in the back. And there are, I think, 11 of those, 10 or 11 of those, set up kind of like the weekly prayers and scripture readings, but around a theme for a retreat for a group of ministers or even a single minister taking a retreat. I thought that was kind of neat. But the one thing that really had me stumped, we see it, let's use just the first week as an example. So first Sunday in Advent is what this week is called. We go to the daily scripture readings. It begins on Monday. So is that the Monday preceding the first Sunday in Advent and ending on the Sunday, which is the first Sunday in Advent? Or is the Sunday listed here then the second Sunday in Advent? It wasn't clear to me, and I don't know why they have the week structured with Monday as the first day. That seems almost inappropriate, so I'm not sure why they've chosen to do it that way. So it's that way on every week. It starts with Monday and ends on Sunday. A little bit strange, but yeah, I don't know what the intent was there, whether the week leading up to that date, I'm not sure. Again, nice, attractive volume, hand-sized, easy to carry with you. I can see how this would be beneficial to someone that maybe isn't quite ready to go full bore into prayer book usage, prayer book worship, but longs for that kind of structure. And this could be used, I could see, again and again, year after year, to some good effect. And I appreciate my good pal for sharing it with me. Maybe something that is of interest to you if you happen to be Methodist or of a Wesleyan persuasion, or just looking for something that would be like a prayer book light, have some of the prayer book structure and tradition while maintaining the kind of feel of a standard devotional book. That is it for today. I appreciate you watching as we looked at this review. Before I go, I'm going to hopefully show the ISBN. If you wanted to find yourself a copy, that's how you would do it. Thanks for watching today. Hope to see you here again next time.